Do you have a sense of what, I know this is a very big question, but do you have a sense of what the prerequisites should be to go and take the leap into a college program and getting a degree? And I don't mean that in a authoritarian sort of way. You have to check these boxes in order to do it. I mean it in a very personal level. Like what do you think makes somebody ready to make that decision based on the students you saw who were really bought in and were excited about what they were doing versus everyone you had come through their classroom who thought they were doing the right thing but didn't have any clear vision or motivation, and that caused them to really struggle to push themselves through the motions because deep inside they weren't aligned on why they even wanted the thing?
I think everyone needs to be able to try out what it is that they think they want to do before they do it. And I used to tell my students that all the time. I would say, they're like, oh, I'm going to go get a master's. And I'd be like, why? Why are you getting a master's? And they're like, oh, because I want to get this job. I said, how do you know you like that job? Have you tried that job? Have you worked at an internship? When I was first considering homeschooling, I was listening to a podcast. I think it's called Living Joyfully. It's unschooling. It's an unschooling podcast. And she interviewed I was like, how do these unschoolers turn out? So I was listening to all the podcasts of these like the grown unschoolers, and she was talking to this one woman, and she said when she was in middle school, she wanted to be a veterinarian, and like she was so passionate about it, and her parents were really cool and like moved to a place where she could go like work with like a big animal vet. And she said she did it for a year and was like, I don't want to be a vet. And her mom's like, why don't you want to be a vet now? And she said, I thought I was going to be taking care of cute puppies and stuff, but it's really helping dying animals and sick animals, and I don't want to be around sick animals. And she said, she's like, I probably would have gone to college to be a vet and gone through a bachelor's and then gone to get a veterinary degree, and I would have been 26 or 27 being a vet and been a year in and be like, I don't think I want to be a vet. And I was like, and she completely pivoted, and she had started her own business, and she had been been working in her field for like 8 years, and she had started her own business like after that. So she had like was this business owner, and she was 26, and I was like, either she could have just been deciding she didn't like being a veterinarian. Instead, she's been working in her field for a decade. And I just, I was like, no, like that's I think everyone should get the opportunity to try. And with my kids right now, my oldest rather, is most excited about being a writer, which is why I mentioned the writing. And I was like, well, let's start you a Substack. Like when you're ready to commit to writing something once a month, we'll start you a Substack, and we'll start putting your work out there. Like then you'll learn to be a writer. Like try it, because you might decide, no, this is not for me. And making a living as a writer is its own challenge. In any case, I think kids need more opportunities to try things, and try them before they, follow a doctor around, follow around a veterinarian, like whatever it is that you think you want to be. Go be an intern at an engineering company before you go get a master's in engineering and think that that's what you want to do. And I think, I experienced that. I just kind of kept doing the next thing, me jumping off this treadmill. So it feels like I'm this person that's always been really good at that. I'm not. Like it was really hard to jump off the treadmill, and I always just did the next thing. And I had opportunities along the way. Like I had really good job offers, and I chose to stay in academia. And I had a teaching offer, and I should have taken it in the hindsight, though I'm grateful for what I've learned since then. But I just kept going because it was the next thing that you do. And then I decided, once they couldn't fire me, I got tenure, so I decided to quit. But I think that people need to be able to try. And if you're not able to try what that job looks like, I don't think I would have liked this job if I had been allowed to try it. So I would have liked the teaching part, but I was mostly doing research. And if I'd known that, I probably would have just stuck with the teaching part.
That's an amazing answer. Every high schooler needs to hear what you just said, because nothing in the world tells you that. You go and you take personality assessment quizzes or aptitude tests, and they tell you that your aptitudes lean in a certain direction. So here's a handful of careers that would leverage that aptitude and that you'd probably be good at. And it's extraordinarily shallow and extraordinarily simple, and really doesn't take into account what you like or the specifics of what you're good at. And you're encouraged to spend more time studying and preparing and no time actually working and trying things. And you can go through an entire adolescence and early adulthood without anyone ever telling you to try the thing that you think you want to do. And so much time is wasted preparing for things that turn out to be completely misaligned with what actually makes you happy. And by the time you reach the end of this cycle, you have inordinate amounts of student debt. You've spent time preparing for this thing for so long that you want to go out into the world and do something now. You don't want to go back to school to study something else. You don't want to spend more time preparing. You want to get on with your life. There's a deep sunk cost fallacy that's very much at play. And so it's very easy to stay on the road that you mischose for decades because it feels like you have to now. And I wish everybody could hear what you just said, because when you think about it in those terms, it is so simple and it is so empowering. You try something, you see if you like it. If you do, you double down, you try out more things, you find your specific path. And if it doesn't fit, then you go back to the drawing board and you say, okay, what about this didn't I like? I'm going to make sure that the next thing I try doesn't have those elements. And then I'm going to go try something else and see if I like that. Or if not, rinse and repeat and do it again. It's so straightforward, but it's such a deviation from the normal paradigm that it doesn't even occur to you because nobody tells you you should, or that it's even possible.
Right.
You're supposed to be in class all day, not doing an internship.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like, aren't you supposed to, like, if you think about what's the riskiest thing you could do, take 6 months and go work for free in an internship while you're hanging out with your parents or whatever, or spend $100,000 like on a college degree that you don't necessarily know. I mean, oh my gosh, like, that seems ludicrous that we just default to that. And, I certainly will encourage my children to try out the careers that they'll do, or go work at Praxis if they're still around, and try things out, before they 100% agree.